All right, my loves, we're here, and I just want to honor and welcome each and every one of you personally. Both Itzhak and I are really here for you and to see what opens up in the community and the access to really questioning and looking at this issue of faith in a time of fear. So I'm going to light the candle here and let Itzhak do a welcoming invitation to the spirits and ancestors and whatever else he wants to bring in. So Itzhak, go ahead, please.
Well, thank you very much for taking time to come and share some thoughts and feelings and our work. It's a privilege. I don't take it for granted that people take time to listen and learn. It's so much easier to go and have another cappuccino somewhere or do nothing else. So I really appreciate that. And so I'm going to open up with a chant or a blessing from the tradition that I'm working with in Ecuador in the Andes. You may want to close your eyes and just like imagine that you are surrounded by those three beautiful mountains in the center of this dome, the valley of the Dome where civilization began, and you could see that beautiful scope of mountains and feel that energy. Yeah. Moyori mieza hawa kapita, moyori mieza hawa kapita. Imbabura kota kachi muhandita sa Juan Togyo, kantazo, kantazo, kantazo. Moyori mieza hawa kapita, moyori mieza hawa kapita. Imbabura kota kachi muhandita sa Juan Togyo, kantazo, kantazo, kantazo. Shungo. Thank you. And shungo is a word in Quechua, which means from my heart to your heart, from your heart to mine. We are all beating the same heartbeat, the heartbeat of Pachamama, Mother Earth. We are all one, we are all the same. And in ancient traditions, in any languages, one word can really describe a whole world. And which I come from the Hebrew tradition. And so if you are Hebraic or anyone, you're Happy New Year or Shoshana to all of you. But it is a poetry. So every word is really describing a whole teaching. So shungo, 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 from my heart to your heart, from my heart to Michael's heart.
Thank you, Itzhak. It's so good to be with you. If you don't know Itzhak Berry, of course, we wrote about it in the flyer, but I just, on a personal note, he's one of my closest allies. We have spent time in the jungle together, and he has a very large community in New York City, but really all over the world. And so it's just an honor to do a new moon call with you again, Itzhak. It's been a few years since we've done one, so delightful to be here. And the subject that we're looking at is faith in times of fear. So I wanted to start out just exploring this thing we call faith. What is it? And what came up for me was really to begin a discussion around the difference between faith and belief. Um, Maybe you want to take a cut at that, Itzhak. I'm going to mute everybody and then let Itzhak unmute himself. Uh, there we go. So we don't have background there. So faith and belief, your thoughts about that as we open up, Itzhak. What is faith? What is belief? How are they different?
Uh, Maybe I'll start with stories because in
Uh-huh.
the shamanic tradition, we always tell stories. We don't really teach. We just tell stories, and then out of the stories, you might get the moral, the the teaching. That so, like my Brazilian Amazonian teacher used to say, we get the teaching from the stories.
Mm-hmm.
So it is all about sharing stories. So I studied with Don Jose Joaquin Pineda, which you met in Ecuador and the high mountains in Ecuador. And one of the way they do healing work or is they through diagnostic. So they diagnose before they start to do the healing. They rub candle over the person's body, or the person rub the candle over their bodies, and the energy transmuted into the candle. And then you light the, the the wick, and you see the flame, and then you see what's the emotional, physical, spiritual problems with the issue, because we recognize that sicknesses are not necessarily physical, right? They come from other situation. And that's what I do now too. But for 3 years, I was sitting behind him. I was trying to figure out what he was doing. How does he know all of that uh, issues? How can he diagnose it so accurately? And so I couldn't find it. But one other thing that was really throughout all his reading, and in many ways also Ipupiara's reading, the Brazilian shaman that I was studying him for 12 years, was that we, the people in the West, uh, have everything, but we have no faith. And it was like an ongoing theme. And I thought that he was just like saying it because it's just like a nice thing to say because everybody doesn't have faith, or it's kind of like, this is the first thing you do in diagnostic is to say, hey, you don't have faith. And, the common thing was really that people said was, what do you mean I don't have faith? I came to see you. I meditate 2 hours a day. I'm a very spiritual person. I do all the right thing. But what he meant that they really don't have faith, which is total trust in themselves or in the universe, or what we call God or nature. And I think that I was very confused in the very beginning because I said, what do you mean you don't have faith? I mean, uh, they trust, they came to see you, right? But in that way, they came to see you because they need somebody to tell them, not to experience. So the difference between, I believe that the difference between faith and belief is that belief is something that somebody gave you or told you or teach you how to tell you how to be, how to think, or how to feel, which is all the three biggest religions. It's all about belief. You believe. You don't really met uh, Jesus, or never met all of those people. You just like follow a doctrine that somebody made up or created in order to organize your life, or to organize your family, your community. It's an or to be ruled by. So I believe it's something that was installed in you, and it's a belief system is so powerful because, as we know, brainwashing is a very strong thing that we have. What I personally love about the shamanic work is that it's not asking you to believe anything I said. Really not. It's actually asking you to be curious, to investigate, to challenge every perception that or anything that I said. You could just go ahead and experience it. So the shamanic teaching is really about, it's about personal experience, and personal experience nobody can take it away from you. You can argue about your feelings, or you can argue, but that's not really it. You know, if you put your hands in fire, you know that it's hot. If I tell you that fire is hot, and you just believe in that if you live your life and you go into hell, that is just a belief. It's not true. It's totally fake. And I mean, there are some examples that I want to say about that, because hell, where Christians go to if they don't behave nicely, it was a goddesses in the northern tradition, and she lived deep into in the earth. She was the responsible of the life forces, the fire within. And when Christianity came, they took the word hell and the goddesses and vilify her. And we can see that in the last 2000 or so years, we believe in that there is hell, that there is, rewards for and punishments from heaven and from. This is such a concept that is so different than any kind of shamanic experience. So I would say that uh, there's a huge difference between belief, belief system, I believe, or I know. And really what we want to do is we want to know. We want to know somebody. We want to touch something, to feel that, and to absolutely be grounded in that experience. Like we talked about many times before, Michael, about the embodiment,
Mhm.
because uh, uh, belief is not, you don't have to embody that, right?
Right.
Faith, you really do. You have a feeling, you know, you have a faith that you're standing on the ground. You know that water is have that quality of life because you experience that. You know that if you put your hands in the fire, the hands will be burned.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that, Itzhak. I want to question one part that I have a little that's challenging for me, and I'll tell you why. And that is the part about faith being based on experience. I think that's important to have that, but I think that's still belief, because from my perspective, belief is a cover up for insecurity. That it's, I've chosen this belief based on evidence and experience, which is shaped by my ancestral hand me downs, my familial, my cultural, all of that. That's what makes up our beliefs. But faith for me is knowing our true self. And I say self with the big S, and trusting in our not original sin, but trusting in our original goodness, our true self. And I think that's a distinction for me that goes beyond knowing, beyond experience, to the source of all knowing, all experience, to the source of consciousness itself. I mean, when you really have faith, you recognize that you're part of a continuum. Life wants to live. it's proven that for millions of years. Life wants to live. We forget that. Our ancestors gave us many tools, resiliencies, opportunities, all the things that work in our body were given to us, the gift of the ancestors. So there's this um, um, all knowing kind of sense that is not belief. And one of the things that I see gets in the way of that are the soul loss aspects of shamanism, the parts of our original goodness that had been suppressed through trauma, through dissociation, through events that happen in our life, experiences that shape, I believe, shape our beliefs and keep us from the experience, the profound experience of being itself, being consciousness. That consciousness is not of the mind, not of the brain, but consciousness is the field in which we live, and it's the source of faith. To me, that's the. I'm just putting that out there to kind of dialogue around that aspect of it. It's so it's having faith in the self, but when we're talking about fear in the big self, fear in times, faith in times of fear, where there's a lot of fear right now, we go to our beliefs, and how do we get to that original goodness and consciousness? We get there by stilling the mind. And by, for me, it's meditation, contemplation, and prayer that takes us to that place where we're beyond good and bad, right and wrong, true or not true, but we're, David Bohm called it the implicate order. We move from form to space. We become the space of consciousness. And we do that, the work of that is to do our shadow work, to integrate in the body. As Itzhak said, I'm a big fan of going into the body, going into the body. Come on, where is it in your body? What are you feeling in your body, not in your head? Most people feel their emotions in their head. That's not feeling your emotions. Your emotions are in your body. So we get angry, but we get angry as a thought. We get sad as a thought, but we don't go into the body. And you can't do that until you get still. So how does all that relate to times of fear? Well, the first place to go when you're overwhelmed with fear and anxiety is to go into the body, to go into stillness. And what's keeping us from faith is the contraction of the body that doesn't allow us the space to meet what's so in the world. And as things escalate with climate change and separation and alienation and genocide and COVIDs and all these different things, is we're closing ourselves into a very small package of beliefs, which has nothing to do with faith. And, you know, I'm just remembering, Itzhak, you love stories and you remember this story. Here's a story of me not having faith and someone else having faith. So Itzhak and I are with, who were we with in Bambura at, it was Don Jose, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so we were with Don Jose and we had this amazing cleansing ceremony, and we're between the two volcanoes, Cotopaxi and Imbambura, and Don Jose says, just remember, if you get into trouble, just ask for help from Imbambura. So it was great, and we go off and we're with other people, and we go to this sacred waterfall. And I am crazy. I used to have a waterfall in my backyard that I'd stand under and take the energy in. And I saw this waterfall and I just started running and throwing my clothes off and just, I was, I think down to my shorts or maybe naked, I don't know. And I ran under the waterfall, and there's this like 100-foot waterfall crashing down this cold water. And I'm like so invigorated. And I come out of it and I can't see very well. And I went, oh, my glasses are gone. And so here we are in this freezing water crashing down, and I'm looking everywhere with the water crashing down and and I can't find, it's the beginning of my trip and I'm blind without my glasses. And I'm looking for like 20 minutes. Then my partner, Marielle, at the time, she comes in and it's so cold, she's got like a toque on and then a leather hat, and she's looking around and I'm looking and people are praying and everything, and I'm just like, well, I'm just going to have to get some reading glasses to read and just not be able to see. And I'm getting out, and Marielle decides to do a prayer to Imbambura, to the volcano. So she sits there and she does this prayer, and she reaches down and picks up my glasses right where we've been searching for 45 minutes for my glasses. I had no faith. She had faith. That's the difference. She trusted the invisible forces, and that's what the implicate order is. The implicate order are the forces that create form and create all of this. And so for me, that going into that still place of entering consciousness, I can't get by without 2 hours of meditation a day just to stay sane in these times. And I try not to watch the news too much, uh, and I think it's really, really important if we want to work with transcending our fear and anxiety and depression and all the things that are coming out from this. We need to get still, and we need to trust the invisible forces. And that includes love and all the other invisible forces, the spirits,
Yeah.
the ancestors, but really the field of consciousness that form comes from. So, Itzhak, I'm going to hand it back to you to see your thoughts about that.
I mean, you remind me of a, a few incidents that I had with faith, and I think is such a teaching. Uh, this year, it sounds like so many years ago. We were in January. We were in the Amazon, and on the last day, early in the morning, I was bitten by a Scorpio, and my it was like so early in the morning, and the woman ran into the forest to get some medicine, and it wasn't the first time I was bitten by a Scorpio, and I knew what's going to happen, and I was panicking. I was like really. I mean, it's not a way to die, but we were like in the Amazon. There was no hospital. There was no place where you can actually bring you to or give you any kind of shots. But she came back 20 minutes later with this drink. So, you know, of course, all my doubts, I have a belief that they can help me, but I needed faith that they can help me. So an hour later on the canoe, we got to the bus. We go on the bus, and somebody volunteered to take my belonging to bring them onto the bus. On the way on the bus, I was just like thinking, I don't see my bag, my personal bag with my computer, with a passport and all of that, and really got really like a very distressed. 8 hours later, we are going into the top of the mountain, and it's really far away to Papayata. And I was by the bus waiting for my bag to come. And I realized that my bag is not there. The next day we were supposed to fly back. So I didn't have my passport, I didn't have my computer, all my stories, all my books, everything on the computer. I was like devastated. And immediately, everybody was just giving me advice, to go to the embassy, to go to do this, to call that, to call everybody we know around the Amazon. Maybe they can all go and help me. And I just freezed, went up to the side, and I called my power animal. I called my teacher, and I said, Jaguar, where is it? Show me, show me, show me where it is. And all of a sudden, I had this vision that I see my backpack. I can show it to you here, leaning against um, construction construction boards by the river, and then it disappeared. But I knew in my bones that it's there. I didn't have belief. I just my faith was so strong with that message from my power animal. And I told them, I'm going back. My group, I'm daddy, right, in the group, right? So I can't leave them in this retreat by themselves, right? So I end up with a volunteer, with another person who spoke Spanish. Uh, we I hired a taxi at midnight to go all the way back to the Amazon. 8 hours later, with rain and fog and horrible ride, I was there, and the man by the river came forward with my bag, and he told me, "I knew you're coming. I knew you're coming." And I mean, I immediately I sent a picture to the group to let them know. So it took me about 16, well, it takes 16 plus 8, so it's almost 24 hours back and forth with no sleep. But that's what I call faith. Is the knowing that you really, that you have to trust the message that you receive from spirit, that nobody will convince you otherwise. And believe me, I had many people who in my group who told me that they try to convince me not to go, that it's stupid, that it's not right, that I why would I believe my 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 power animal? I mean, if I don't believe my power animal, how can I teach other people to trust it, right? So, I mean, all of those things. And I have to say though, as we were like bumping heads in the taxi going down into the river, I went through hell because the doubts that you talked about, Michael, all the traumas, all my soul losses, all everything was uh, came crashing at my belief system, at my trust. So I thought that I'm stupid. That why would I believe in this thing? Who even put me in there? Why did I do all of it? I had this incredible conversation for 8 hours, keeping me. And the one thing is, and so I think that the difference is that faith is like knowing that there is a North Star, knowing that there is a direction that you need to go, and sticking by it in spite of your soul loss, in spite of all the social uh, pressures. It's it's similar to you knowing what's your life purpose. And if you absolutely embody your life purpose, you know your life purpose, nobody can sway you from it. Nobody can tell you that this life purpose is not right for you because you know. So that's why I think that faith, what we lack here is faith, knowing, moral compass, deeper understanding of what human came here on this earth to do, and not falling into um, sidetracks of religion. You know, it's very hard for us to even contemplate. But you go now in the Amazon or in the Andes, the outreach of religious is so strong that they are now entering into the Amazon, and they destroying any kind of faith that they have in their own culture. They replacing it with belief in God, belief in Jesus, in punishment, in sinning. They really, I mean, the COVID-19 really did that for them. I mean, maybe that's one of the things that we want to talk about is how we use religion and belief to ruin, to destroy shamanic communities all around the world.
Yeah, that's a really important topic. I'm glad you're focusing on that. Um, original sin, it's an interesting concept. Original sin was created in the 3rd century by St. Thomas. And it was a great way to control the masses, to collect taxes, to justify genocide of the native people. Um, and the basic concept is that people are born bad. Now, every one of us has been with a baby at some point, right? You've seen a baby. Do you see a violent rapist, a murderer, a corrupt politician? No, you don't. So really, it's a lie, this whole thing about that we're born essentially bad. Now, there are many ways that that idea gets ingrained in us. And a lot of that has to do with early attachment theory. I'm not going to get into that a lot right now, but our relationship to our caregiver, and not the things that happen to us, but the stories and beliefs that we form about the things that happen to us. And that's really important, that distinction. So if we made those stories up, then we can unmake those stories. We have the capacity to do that. And so, how do we return to not original sin, but original goodness, which is our natural state? It is the natural state. And so, that's the work that all of us have to do right now, is to really discover our own path to wholeness. Healing means wholeness. It doesn't mean more drugs or keep them alive 10 years past their death. It means wholeness. How do I become whole? How do I align my thoughts and my emotions and my body so that there's a congruency in my actions, and I'm not thinking one thing, saying another, and acting another way, and feeling another way in my body? Um, so in times of fear, that's, again, I'm going to go back to the need to meditate, to journey, to slow down and find the space between the notes, the silence, that place from which everything comes, the breath. People say in the beginning was the word. No, in the beginning was the breath, the wind. We have to honor the spirit of wind, because that's what gave us the words. There was no words before wind. So we go back to our breath, we go back to our body, we go back and we look and we find the parts in us that have been dissociated, the soul lost parts. And I have a very basic, I teach in the way of the mystic, a very simple, takes a while to learn it, but a very simple process. First of all, we get into a meditative state and we practice presencing, zooming in to our body and finding those stuck, those frozen parts of ourselves. People laugh because I'm always talking about frozen chickens, right? You buy a chicken at the store, you bring it home, you say, no, I'm not going to eat this till Saturday. I put it in the freezer. It takes a lot of energy to freeze that chicken. But then it takes a lot of energy to freeze, to keep it frozen. So I make a decision, something happens, the dog barks, I'm scared, but I'm not supposed to be scared, my caregiver says. So I'm confused. I don't know what's going on. So I just freeze that ability to feel the fear in my body, or to, the decisions that we make they're frozen in our body, and they take up space and they take up energy, and they create a particular kind of structure that keeps us from feeling the spaciousness, the spacious interiority, the infinite inner aspect of where things arise from. This is our vehicle. And I want to say something you mentioned about finding our life purpose. Our life purpose is not a place to get to. It's not a destination. You're living your life purpose right now. And there are barriers to the fullest expression of that, which is called dissociated parts, frozen chickens, soul loss, whatever you want to call it. Those are in your body. And so the first thing we do is presence ourselves and locate in our body with a physical sense of where the movement is, what's happening, where are the frozen parts, where's the constriction. We really refine that down, and we become, the second part is to become a witness. A witness is something that those of you who meditate know that at some point you realize I'm watching my mind, I'm watching the things in my body. Wait a minute, who's watching? That's consciousness. That is the access to consciousness. When you feel that split of I'm able to watch that, consciousness is watching all these thoughts, all these beliefs, all these stories you tell about I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not viable in this world, I don't belong. Of course you belong. You were born. You were a baby. You were born. How can you not belong? You're here. All of that is a belief, a story that we made up about ourselves. So we witness that with great precision, and precision is love. Presence, precise presence is love. There is no other love. Love is absolute presence and precision in that presence. And when we do that, we begin to find those frozen parts of ourselves. We go, oh, and we gently nudge up against them. We go, oh, I've got a fear here. Oh, ooh, it's dark and it feels really old. It feels like maybe 5 years old. So I kind of look. I don't need the story, but it's good to know, oh, that's about a 5-year-old. And so then we do the third part, and that's embracing. When we embrace, we take that 5-year-old and we imagine putting him or her on our lap. And we go back to that place where we made that decision. We say, sweetheart, I know you were really scared at that time, and there was nobody there to hold you. There was nobody there to soothe you and let you know it was okay. And you got really scared and you froze that part of yourself. But it's okay because I'm here. We made it. I'm here now, and I'm here to love you. And you can even put your arms around that little fear and that 5-year-old and say, it's okay. And what happens? It's nothing's broken. There's nothing that needs to be fixed about you. It just melts and integrates so you become more whole. And each time we do that, we increase our capacity for really having faith, faith that comes from the divine consciousness, not from the mind. So that's my wrap on that, Itzhak.
I think it's a beautiful wrap, and I wanted to maybe take it back to to the more of the indigenous way of looking at
Mhm.
life, because I think that that's the beauty of our exchange. Um, so in indigenous world, as far as I experience, because I can't really speak for all traditions, but for the tradition that I experienced, for the people in Amazon, Brazil, in Ecuador, in the Andes, and many others, uh, they see the world a little different than we do. They get their faith from knowing that the sun rises in the east, and it's always rise in the east, and it's always go to the west. They don't have doubts, they don't have questions. They know that the tree grows and the animals grows, and they are part of that. So I think that what I'm trying to say, that faith comes from your inner, from your deep connection to the whole, to the to nature, that you know down deep that you are well because nature take care of you. And you could see it, that in the eyes of children in the Amazon. You remember that. You see that in the way they behave and walk in the forest, or in the way they walk on the mountains, the way they give freedom to their children, and the way they educate them. They hardly ever say no, because nobody uses the word no, which is like most popular thing word in our culture, because they allow you to fully be a tree, fully be the animals, fully be nature. And when you are in that place, um, that you are part of, you're not separated, you're not casted out, you're not different. Doesn't mean what color you are, or education you have, where country you are, or accent, like me. So it doesn't really matter, because you are part of, you are another tree in the forest. You are part of the rain, you're part of the air blowing. And so, and you have faith, you have grounding, you have knowing that it's part of life. And I think that if we are talking about now, as hard as it might seem, we're going through incredible, challenging time. I don't know if there's any, I mean, every generation go through something like that, but we are in really, my God, our head against the wall. But if you look at it from the top, from being part of the universe is action, the construction, the cons- constructing energies and the expansion energies, the movement that happens now between social responsibility and the I, or the 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 it is a huge fight now between two way of thinking of us, as an I or as a we. These are the sharing economies, or the individual capitalist society. So where I in all of it? And to understand that there is, in I'm just like, maybe I'm going to go into the deep end here, but there is a dance between good and evil forces that are running throughout our life, and throughout humanity, or we call it like that, good and evil. But these are the forces that are like grinding against us to help us shape shift or develop or create. You can call it consciousness. Indigenous people don't call it consciousness, but they to form, to lead us into a different era. And if we take all that 4 years that we are going through, with all the COVID-19 and all of that challenges that we are experiencing, from uh, an overlook, like condor way of looking at life, we can find peace, we can find reason, we can find faith in the universe, that it would lead us to where we need to be.
Mm.
I think that it's lacking in our culture. The idea is that we are all part of the cycle. We talked about the condor and the eagle prophecy, that we are now in the beginning of a new era, that it's like, it's so exciting. 500 years of peace, harmony, and the return of the feminine energies. We are right now in the beginning of it, and all the forces that are the old forces are fighting it. So we are now in that middle of the old regime, the old masculine, imperialistic, capitalist, industrial. They are all grabbing to power,
Mhm.
and where the new beginning start. Indigenous people understand that. because it's part of nature. It's part of the development of any plants or trees or any animals. It's just like part of nature. So we are in it. If we can hold that idea that we are in that middle of in we are in the middle of the beginning of the new period of new time, that it would be a lot easier to have faith in the universe.
Mm, beautiful. I love that. I love that you brought in the indigenous perspective um, on this, Itzhak, because I think it's really important. And one of the things that we don't have in our culture is a way to deal with these, what I call the frozen chickens. There is no rite of passage. There is no initiation. There is no, you know, in indigenous cultures, many of the, not all of the indigenous cultures, when someone goes wrong based on that sense of interconnectedness, non-duality, no separation, when something goes wrong, the entire community is there to tell the person all the reasons they're loved, they're amazing, what they offered, no matter what they did, they're brought back in. We don't have that. We have such a strong belief in separation, the Cartesian mechanistic perspective of that we're objects in a world of objects, which is why I talk about the implicate and explicate order, because that's the opposite of that perspective. I think it's really important too, when I was in China, right after the bamboo curtain came up, I had the opportunity to go into China immediately after that with someone who had been there 32 years, an American, 17 of them in prison. And we were at some temple or something, and these lion gargoyle figures at the Chinese temple. I said, what do those stand for? And Sydney says, those are the guardians of the truth. I said, what are the guardians of the truth? He says, paradox and confusion. They stand for paradox and confusion. So everything we're saying, may bring up confusion. That's great, because an important aspect of this is the willingness to be with the unknown and to embrace uncertainty, because so much of our suffering is around perfectionism and that's an aspect of needing to be in control of life, which completely severs you from your original goodness and why you were born here at this particular time. So embracing uncertainty is a very important aspect of cultivating faith, another aspect of it. There were so many things you wrote. I wrote a bunch of notes down. Um, um, but that's the main aspect. I want to make sure that we have time to. Would you do a journey, Itzhak? Lead us on a little journey, maybe for 8-10 minutes to kind of get into this before we open the question and answer part.
Absolutely.
I love it. I love your journeys.
Okay, so let's do that. Um, so to do that, is anybody doesn't know what journey is, or shamanic journeys, or spirit guides, or spirit teachers, or spirit helpers, or angels, or any of that? Because, well, in the shamanic tradition, what we do is we connect with entities that are outside of us. There are spirits who, um, either in the upper world, teachers in the shape form of humans, or spirit of nature in the middle world, which is the spirit of trees or rocks or your glasses or your whatever you're using, everything, or the spirit of animals that are spirit of that resides in the uh, mama, in the mother earth, in below. Um, and so the belief system here, and I think that that's also important our subject here of faith, is that the sun is always above us, and it's always a generating energy that of love and of light to to give life. And there is always the earth underneath that support us, that is the life-giving forces. You know, there's without earth we don't have life, without the sun we don't have life. That in between is the middle world, is that the world of that we experience in our five senses, but in the shamanic tradition, really, we think of it as a illusionary world, because that our world doesn't never really happened. It's all energy. It's all atoms and molecules and particles are moving in different speeds. So our world is all energy. And so when you get into belief and you want to get into faith, the one thing you can do is you can really ground yourself, send your roots into the mama, into the earth, and get to feel that energy of the fire, of the magma, the gravitational forces. This is the passion, the creativity that is in your growings or in your dantien. And then from your crown of your head, I really feel that energy of the Son, of the Father. You are the tree. We are the tree. So when you are in confusion, become a tree. And that connection between God, the Son, and the Mother is what gives you the comfort of safety and security and held on and love, because you know that you are taken care of. So what I'd like to do is, if you can call your spirit guides or teachers and ask them to take you to a moment in your life where you absolutely felt that connection between the sun, your heart, and the Pachamama, Mother Earth, that you were certain, you knew that you are one. You knew that you are connected. You didn't have to ask anybody, but I'm sure there is one time, instead of concentrating on the traumas, is to concentrate on that moment that you was absolutely in your element, that you knew you don't have to have any excuse of being, just be. Totally faith in the being of yourself. And it may be more than just one experience like that. Now, if you like, you can also stand up and feel your legs are becoming the roots of a tree, and your head become the receptor of the sun, and let that energy come into your heart, right? So you can journey in that way. Nobody said that you have to journey lying down, okay? But you may want to close your eyes to have a more of a experience. So take a big breath in and take a big breath out. And you can turn off the video if you don't want to be seen. And we're going to journey for about 7 minutes, and I'm going to change the rhythm at the very end of it so you can come back slowly. Take a big breath in, take a big breath out, and take another big breath in and out, and move your toes, your fingers, bring life back to your body. You may want to stretch your body a little bit, bring life back.
Mhm. Thank you, Itzhak. It's always good to journey with you. So we are now moving into the interactive part where we want to work with you. And I think I want to create a context. It's great if you want to share about what happened in the journey or questions or anything, but I want to hold it in the context of what we're working with, and that is the movement from fear to faith, so that it really applies to your life. So whatever questions, whatever things come up for you, please, either you can write in the chat and you can send it to Itzhak or I, so you can click on it specifically and send it, or you can just raise your hand. You do that by going to your name and then click more. And whoops, that doesn't work, does it? Deborah, how do we raise our hand? Down at the lower more.
You scroll down to participants, and you'll see a raise hand icon. You can click on that.
Okay. I still don't see that, but anyway, just if you can't find it, wave your hand and we'll just do it the old-fashioned way. So who has something they'd like to share or question to ask? Or it's so good to see so many of you. Peasley, good to see you. It's been a long time. And hi, Tina. Wow, lots of familiar faces here. I love it. So let's just open up. Is somebody raising their hand? Grace, is that your hand or just your finger?
It looked like Jeff is there.
Jeff, did you want to say something?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I have wandered the shamanic path for quite a while with Hank Wesselman and Jill Kuykendall. I call that the pre-Michael era, although I'm still very much involved with that process. We're doing a year-long weekly get-together with them. And over the past few weeks, what we've looked at is polytheism, monotheism, and just last night we looked at spiritual unfolding. And one of the unique factors is that belief will sustain you for a, varying time frames. And I say that very uniquely because belief can actually exist through multiple incarnations. But one thing that can transpire as a person begins to awaken is that they recognize that I've believed in whatever the belief happens to be for an extended period of time, but there doesn't seem to be any change transpiring in my life. Things are still going along as they have always gone along. And it's at this point when that question comes up, about the dynamics of that belief structure. And it's right there that faith shows up. And faith soldiers on when our beliefs fail to inspire us. And here's the dynamic about faith is faith can take you in two different directions. It can bring you back into belief, or it can take you forward into direct face-to-face contact with the spiritual essence of who you are. And that process when you take that step into that dynamic interchange of experience with spirit, things change very dynamically, and you notice this because spirit is always attempting to awaken us to moments in our life when we can bring things through from that spiritual realm that do change our life and change the lives of those that we interact with in very dynamic ways. And that's, you know, a whole different level of life that is vibrant. It's percolating all the time, and it's bringing us in contact with everything. You know, everything. You know, we are one. It's amazing. Anyway,
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. Blessings. Yes, thanks so much. Okay, we have, who else wants to say something? Just any, you know, we want to get as many people as possible to be able to speak here. So Grace, I'm looking at you and somehow I think you want to say something. You got a question or something? I just see you.
Yeah, I was just trying to raise my hand. It's like
I can feel it.
cumbersome process where I have to go into a button to find a button. And I mean, I could just like this. I just wanted to express gratitude for this, the simplicity of nature being a place to put our focus. It reminded me after Trump won the election in 2016, I went into a pretty unsettled state. And then I remembered, it dawned on me, no pun intended, that the sun is still rising and still falling. The oceans are still moving. The wind is still blowing. So while we have a change in one place, we have stability in nature. And to be reminded of the imagery of a tree and rooting, there are these universal truths in the essence of energy that we are, that continues to reinforce my practice. And I think regardless of what belief system we want to choose to view the world through and how we lens it, that there are these universal truths. And for me, faith is informed by these belief systems and reinforced in this truth. And I really appreciate being able to align with that here.
Oh, lovely. Thank you, Grace. That's beautiful. You just remind me of something that, you know, we spend a lot of energy trying to fix ourselves, trying to get better, trying to reach some destination, not even always clear of what that destination is. And the natural order of things is healing. Everything in nature knows how to heal. Your soul knows exactly how to heal. It's kind of like if I cut my finger and I kept going, oh, this is not right. It's got to heal. I've got to, so I keep picking at it. You know, it's going to get infected. But if I just leave it and I actually let it be, it naturally heals. Our soul is the same way. And soul loss is the same thing. If we attend to it with awareness, and just awareness is the healing, you don't need to change or fix anything. You just need to allow things to fully be the way they are and be present and attentive to the way things are, and they heal themselves. This is not, you know, it's not some huge thing we have to learn. It's just awareness is the healing, because life knows how to heal. We don't know how to beat our heart. We don't know how to make our digestive system work. We don't know how to make our breath. It works. It just works. And healing is that kind of attention. So thank you. I love that, Grace. I love what you're saying. Yeah, beautiful. Both of you. Who else? Let's get some more interaction here. Peasley, you're ready to push the button, I know. I can see it. Yeah, you just put your hand up. I knew it. I beat you to it again. Hello, brother.
um, so I'm very, very close to one of my daughters, close to both, but very close to the younger, Natalie. And she is in her first year of teaching second grade. In midlife, she's made this change. And very much in this topic of faith and fear, she's experiencing a great deal of fear. Mm-hmm. Her stress anxiety level is high. She's experienced depression in the past, and she feels herself going into that as well. All of this is very familiar territory to me, but happily I'm not experiencing it, those negative aspects of feelings deeply now, but she is. And we're very close. I know she feels her sense of stress is a sense of fear that I believe is generated by a sense of inadequacy.
Yeah.
So much, I think there's a great deal of perfectionism that I'm growing out of, and that she also is. She has many tools, but she feels her desire, her feeling from the depression is to run away. I've been in that place. I left medical school once because that sense of pressure was so overwhelming. It took quite a long time for healing my soul. She's been through that in the past. I'd like to help her through the cycle to find the inner healing rather than have to do it by leaving this profession that I know she is called to, and she knows she's called to.
Yeah.
That's
such a great question. I actually got a download as you were speaking, so I just want to share it with you. And I'm sure Itzhak's probably got something to say too. But before you even told the story, my hit was she needs to quit being the teacher and be the learner. That she's got all these second grade Mahatmas that are there. And the stress she's causing is needing to be a good teacher when she's really there to be a good learner and a good listener and to nourish those little Mahatmas, those little beings that are the future of the planet. They're a great source of wisdom. So the need to be the perfect teacher, especially coming in at midlife like she did and all that, my take is that's the shift that I just got immediately when you were talking is she needs to be the learner, not the teacher, and go in every day to learn from these people and just nurture and love them and nourish them. And that's my take. Itzhak, you want to add anything to that?
I think it's a beautiful, beautiful way of healing. Instead of challenging yourself to be the teacher, just challenge yourself to be the seeker. That's a great thing. And but I would say to do some like a shamanic practice, which is like really simple. Does she like plants or gardening?
Yes.
Beautiful. Ask her to take care of one plant specifically. So to get the energy into something achievable. So a lot of us are disconnected from nature. The best way to really learn shamanism is to is to grow something and take care of it and know and see that it grows, and it gives you achievement, it gives you satisfaction, and it rewards you. And so I think that could be, it doesn't look smart, but it looks very, it's always very good.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thanks, Beasley. It's good to see you.
Thank you.
Who else here? Let me just see. I can usually tell when somebody's about to raise their hand here. Suzanne, what about you? It feels like you've got something happening there.
Okay. I wanted to ask about things coming up in this time for healing. So about expanding the realm in which we feel comfortable and safe and accept one another.
Mm-hmm. That's a beautiful question. The problem with the question is you think you're the one that's expanding. So the expansion comes by attending to what's happening in your body and what's bringing awareness to it. That's what creates expansion. It's not you doing anything. It's you increasing your ability to be with what's so and distinguish what's happening in the moment rather than focusing on the remembered past or the imagined future. So, do you have a meditation practice or a journeying practice, Suzanne?
Actually, I was more interested in hearing of the experiences of other people.
Uh-huh.
So for me, what I discovered this past week is that I used to hide. There was a belief that sort of my like my rage and my jealousy, and so that I couldn't bring that to spirit, because then I wouldn't be accepted anymore, like was that were my experiences in life. And now I discovered, oh, that's not true.
Yeah.
I can just bring anything to spirit.
Yeah.
I can show up in my worst way, and it's still okay. That's what my experience, and I'm interested in other people's experience.
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah. There's a wonderful poem by Rumi called The Guest House. Many of you probably know it. And it's really welcoming everything. That's the path. Welcome the shame, welcome the guilt, welcome the fear, welcome all the energies that come knocking on your door, welcome the traumas and the things that happen. They're all, welcome them all as teachers. And yeah, thank you, Suzanne. Anyone, Itzhak, or anyone want to say anything more about that?
I just wanted to say that it's actually the subject of our call today. It's about, the way I see it, Suzanne, is about surrendering. If you want to expand, you need to surrender. And surrender, I mean, not holding anger, means that you're not holding your old stories, your old belief system. It is about letting go. To be part of the universe, to open your heart, to become the universe, not to hold it as a wounded bird.
Yeah.
And to be able to totally surrender, you need faith that everything will be okay. Nobody will beat you up, that you're not going to fall, right? So the idea here of faith is knowing that the earth will hold you, that your loved ones will hold you. And you're talking about anger, of course. You know, anger is that demonstration that you have fear that nobody will hold you. nobody will take you, nobody will love you. And so this is exactly what we're talking about here. Surrender, surrender, surrender to faith, to the universe.
And I love, Suzanne, that you brought in community. And I want to say something about that because that's really important. In the groups that we do, the healing is exponentially more deep and faster when we're in a group, because when we're in a group, we can co-regulate with each other and bring those things into coherence, into a balance. The work we do in the Advanced Mystics course is quite extraordinary, and in the Way of the Mystic course, because we do a lot of that. The healing comes from the community rather than one person trying to fix something. And I do want to plug Itzhak and I in a couple weeks. You've probably got a flyer there. In a couple weeks, we're going to do a 3-hour opportunity to journey, to meditate, to actually work with each other in deepening our relationship to faith and how to deal with the fears, both our own and the ones in the community and in the world. And Itzhak, maybe you could talk about that a little bit or show the flyer in the shared screen.
Oh, that's a good idea. Let me see if I can do that. I just learned yesterday.
We're pretty excited about working together and working together with you,
no,
obviously.
Yesterday I learned how to share screen, which was like, could you believe?
Yes, I do believe. You know,
so
you
here
live
I
in the other
am.
world.
Do you see that?
Yeah.
Do you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to do a part of the Shaman Portal Wisdom webinars. We're going to do Faith in Time of Fear, learn how to embrace uncertainty and explore mystics and shamanic proximity. So in many ways, we're going to expand on what we've done there, but we're going to actually do more processes. It's a 3 hours long, and we have more time to concentrate on journey work, on meditation, on any kind of processes that we can bring us into that place, Suzanne, of surrender, of fear, embracing life. So I hope that you come and join us.
Yeah, it's really an opportunity to do a group healing, and that kind of healing, really the kind of work that we do. When you go out, then you carry that essence of the work that we do in community, and it really affects the people around you. The consciousness that you achieve, even in 3 hours of doing this kind of work, the inner work that we're going to be doing, will affect your family, your husband, your children, your community, and people around you, because we're feeding something positive into the web of life, into the universal consciousness. And this is, for me, so important that we heal in community. We learn in community. We don't learn by ourselves. Everything we do is a co-creation. Buddhists call it interdependent co-arising. Life arises in relationship. And so when we are in relationship with a group of people who are doing this healing work, this attentive work to inner healing as a community, there's a huge growth opportunity that happens. So I just want to underscore, and if you have any questions about that, please raise your hand, or any other questions. We're close to the end here, but if you had any questions, please raise your hand. I don't, anybody here? No hands up or over here. So I guess it's time to close the circle. I'd love to go on for a few more hours, but we can do that in 2 weeks, and we'll send you out this flyer so that you can find out more and send us any questions you have. So do you want to do the closing, or shall I, or what, Itzhak?
Sure. First of all, I want to thank you for being with us. Yeah. I mean, it's not easy what we're really talking about. It sounds like easy, but it's actually kind of challenging, because as I said to Suzanne, it's about really surrendering. It's really about letting go of your old belief systems and stories and all the obstacles that you are putting on your way, and that you kind of like helping you moving through space, but really being totally open.
Yeah, so I just want to say it's so important that not only do we have a practice, but what I often tell people in my groups is, don't try to fit your practice into your life. Fit your life into your practice. That's what we're trying to work with people, that my whole life becomes a practice. That's what when I say cultural mysticism and the work that I do, it means not going into a cave and doing meditation for 100 years. It means being in the culture and having everything that arises be part of our practice and part of our awakening and learning. So I just wanted to add that before you do the close.
So I want to thank Pachamama for the beauty and magic that we are surrounded by. And I want to thank Tata Inti, Father Sun, for the beauty and life and light and love that is sending to all of us, each of us. And I want to thank Mama Kia, Great Mother Moon, for the reflection and for the introspectiveness and for the intuition that the feminine energy that we have within us, that's so nurturing us and other people around us. And I also want to thank Hatun Pachakamak, the great mystery, the great creator, for creating this imperfect, perfect world that is, every moment of it is a magical moment that we need to embrace. Aho.
Aho. And thank you, every one of you, especially thank you, my brother Itzhak. It's just always a delight to be with you, and each and every one of you for your contributions, whether it was speaking or listening. You all contributed to the field that we created, and it's the kind of thing that gives us hope in a hopeless world. So I'm really grateful for that, and we're here for you, and we hope you will join us in a couple weeks for our little 3-hour deep dive into this transformation from fear to faith. Thank you. Thank you all. Much love.
Thank you, Michael.
Yes, thanks. Talk to you later. Bye.